Hello. Welcome back to Life After Plus One. I'm Leanne, your podcast host and your single parent mentor and coach. And welcome back, everybody. Welcome. Hello. And just a little friendly reminder that those who are new, I just want to let you know that I am here for the fellas too. And I know a lot of people think that I'm just for the women because I'm a lady over here and they just think I just must be helping the women. No, I am helping the fellas. I'm helping all of you single parents. So if you've got any dads out there, if you are a dad, hey, welcome on board. And if you know any others, this is here for everyone. Anyone that needs help, support, advice, coaching, anything. As a single parent, then I'm your girl. This is exactly what this space is here for. So welcome. And today, what I want to talk about is your ex. Kind of, anyway. But I want to talk about how you constantly have these expectations of your ex and you may not even realize it. And quite often, that is what is holding you back. So I want to talk about that today. And let's talk about these little things that you might be waiting for from your ex that are just possibly never going to come. Welcome to the Life After Plus One podcast, where we turn life's lemons into delightful lemonade. Get ready for inspiring stories, uplifting conversations, and all the tips and tricks to rock your single parent journey with style. I'm your host, Leanne, and it's time to embrace the adventure of Life After Plus One. So, let's dive in. Now, straight up, you might be thinking, well, I'm not waiting for anything from my ex. I don't need anything from them. I'm good. I'm fine. But quite often, there is this unspoken expectation of what you're waiting for from your ex and you don't even realize it. It's not like you're sitting there waiting, but deep down, you're expecting something from them, whether it be the way they parent. Maybe they're not showing up. They're not involved in the kids' lives as much as you want them to be. Maybe they're not paying child support. Maybe they're out prioritizing their dating life or their new partner or their new partner's new kids. That's a great one, isn't it? Don't you love it when that happens? Obviously, insert sarcasm here. But yes, it does happen a lot where you see people meet up with a new partner and all of a sudden they're number one. Mind-boggling how that happens. And then you're sitting there wondering why. Why are they doing this? You want these answers. What's happening? I don't get it. And the thing is, you may not realize it, but that's this expectation. When you're thinking this, when you're wondering this, when you're trying to understand why they're doing this, you've got this expectation of them that is holding you back. And realistically, we all know, all us non-toxic co-parents out here that can co-parent amicably or be as emotionally mature as possible, realize that they should show up a certain way. They should be doing certain things with their kids. They should be prioritizing their kids first. However, we all know that it doesn't always happen that way, especially when you're dealing with a high conflict or a toxic co-parent. Because let's be honest, if they weren't toxic, then they wouldn't be doing this. So of course they're toxic. But it does happen. And because you're so emotionally mature and because you're such a person that likes to give and because you're such a person that likes to bend over backwards to help people and please people and do things for people, it's mind-boggling to you. It is something that you cannot process or understand how this person cannot prioritize their own kids. So you're secretly waiting for these answers, waiting for this understanding, waiting to understand why and what's happening. The thing is, when you have this mentality, without even realizing it, you have an expectation on your ex. And as I just touched on, yes, they should show up a certain way. We all know that. We all know that. But having this expectation of someone who is not a part of your life, well, they kind of are, but they're not. But having this expectation on your ex, it's not going to all of a sudden flip around where they just magically give you an answer that you want to hear. It's not just going to magically work out where they're just going to start showing up the way that you want them to be. And what a lot of people forget in this situation is that when their ex, when their co-parent is not doing what they should be doing as a parent, more often than not, you've come from a relationship where they didn't show up there either. They didn't show up. They weren't that hands-on parent when you were married or when you were in that relationship together. They weren't involved. They weren't present in the kids' lives. They weren't there. They weren't emotionally invested. And you get that a lot. Not just with dads. You get it with mums too that are just, they're not there. They can't give emotionally. And it's sad. And the thing is, you want to hate that person for doing it. But deep down, and I'm not condoning this in any way, but deep down we know when people are behaving like this, it's because they're lacking that emotional maturity. They're lacking that knowledge of how to give to somebody emotionally because as kids, they never received it. They never got that love. They never got that attention. They don't know how to give it because they never received it. They don't know how to talk about things because they weren't ever in a situation where they were able to talk about things. They don't know how to deal with things in a healthy way because quite often they've never seen it. Now, again, I'm not condoning toxic mentality. You get to a certain age where it's like, deal with your shit. Do something better. Step up. But the thing is, when you're dealing with someone like this, they don't know any different. And doing something different, stepping up, means actually dealing with their shit. It's not just a matter of turning around and being more involved, because for them, turning around and being more involved means they've actually got to take accountability. And that's a big thing for a lot of people, especially for those emotionally immature ones. They will not take accountability. And the reason for that is when they take accountability, when certain people own up to things that they've done wrong or are put in a position where they need to own up for what they've done wrong, that puts them feeling like a failure. That puts them in a position where they have to admit fault. And they're not comfortable with that because more often than not, these kinds of people that won't step up are the ones that are very insecure. They're very insecure in themselves. So admitting fault will make them feel even more insecure, will make them feel even smaller and less relevant. And they don't want that. So they're going to deny. They're not going to take accountability because that's going to make them feel even more shit. So they're just going to hope that you forget about it. They're just going to sweep it under the carpet. So that's why they're never going to take accountability. And that's why it's not so simple for them just to step up and do different. Because it's not just a matter of just stepping up. It's a process of actually taking accountability, changing, doing something different. And doing something different means, more often than not, having to deal with their problems. And those are the kind of people that do not want to deal with their problems. And the thing is, emotionally intelligent people, empaths, are the ones that usually fall into relationships with these people because you feel bad. You feel like, oh, I can fix them. I can help them. You want to take them under the wing and go, that's okay. I can make it all better for you. But you can't. You realize the hard way. You cannot do that. It's up to them to make themselves better. And so when you're in that relationship with them, you know they never stepped up. You know they never came to the party and gave you what you needed emotionally. They never provided in a way that you needed, because if they did, they wouldn't be your ex. Let's be clear. And what the hard thing is to really get your head around is, even though it's shit when they do it to you, even though it hurts and you know it's not right, but you get to a place where you're like, I don't like it, but I can accept it. But seeing it happen to your kids, that's like a whole different Oprah show there. You're like, no, fuck no. You don't do that to my kids. You don't put our kids through this. And so that's when you keep holding on to these expectations that because you're so protective of them, because you're very emotionally involved, you know how to show love, you know how to show you care, you know how to give support, and you know how to talk to your kids. You're there to love them and hug them and be with them and cry with them and do all that stuff. With the other parent who's not stepping up, who's not involved, they're the parent who won't do that because they're not emotionally involved. Then they don't have that that's a tongue twister. They don't have that emotional intelligence to be able to do that. And they've always, I'm pretty much sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I guarantee you there've been someone throughout your relationship that's never dealt with problems. They never communicated about things. They always swept everything under the carpet. They're probably the people that just walked away when there's a problem. Good chance they just disappeared. Maybe even disappeared for days. And then they come back when it's all swept away, and they come back like nothing's ever happened. And now all of a sudden, they're now your ex. And they're now handling things the exact same way that they did when you were in a relationship with them, but you can't understand why they're still doing it because it's your kids. But the thing is, we know it's wrong because it's their kids, but they're not all of a sudden just going to change the way they behave because it's their kids. Because quite often, when you're dealing with these people, your children are acting more mature than these people. Your children are dealing with things in a more mature way than their own other parent is. And it's sad, it really is. But the hardest thing to really get your head around is you cannot change that. You can't. And the more you have expectations of that happening, the more you're going to just keep banging your head against that wall. There's no change in that. There really isn't. Because that's who they were in their relationship. This is who they are. And in their minds, they're wanting that attention. They're wanting people to feel sorry for them. They're wanting people just to come to the party and give them attention and stroke their ego. They're not wanting to go, oh, poor kids, are you okay? I'll come fix it. They're not that kind of person. So constantly sitting around waiting for them to show up and do better, realistically, we know that's the right thing. On paper, we know that's the right thing, but they don't have the emotional maturity to do that. And quite often when you're seeing it, when they're going on to a new partner, they move straight into with a new partner and they're taking on this partner's kids like they're their own. And meanwhile, your kids are sitting there watching that thinking, what the hell is happening? Hi, what about me? Remember, you're my mum, you're my dad. Hello, you going to come visit? It happens. I've seen it. I've seen it with my daughter. My daughter sits back and watches and her dad's buying these things for all these other kids. And she's like, well, hello, I'm here too. And it stings. It's like, for yourself, you're like, deep down, I don't give a shit. Say what you want about me, but your kid, your child, doesn't cut it. But the more you get angry about it, the more you get pissed off, the more you get frustrated, the more it is just holding you back. You need to get to a point where you realize this is shit. You're being a fucking arsehole and I don't like it, but you've got to accept it. And that's the place you've got to get to. And it's not easy. It is not easy because you're protective of your kids. You want most parents want what is best for their kids. And that is to have two loving parents show up for their kids. But unfortunately, it doesn't always happen that way. And sometimes, as hard as it is, you've just got to accept that having one loving, emotionally present parent is far better than having two parents that are just never going to see eye to eye, and that other parent is just never going to be involved the way that you want them to be. Now, you can leave it as is. I'm not saying kick them out of their lives. But at the end of the day, the kids will make up their own mind of what they think of this parent. And that's totally up to them to do. And they will. In time, they will see this side of their parent. They may, if they're younger kids, they may not see it. They may still think they're the fun parent. Let's go to mums. Let's go to dads. They're the fun parent. Let's go spend time with them. That's how they may look at it. And in time, they might see a side. Well, why didn't they show up? Why didn't they do this? Why weren't they there at my school events? Why didn't they come for this? Why are they buying these kids this and I'm over here getting nothing? Kids will start to recognize that. You don't have to tell them, oh, mum's doing this or dad's doing this or they're not doing this because you don't have to tell them anything. And I'm not telling you to lie to your kids either. But there's a way to have those conversations with the kids that are age appropriate without kind of shitting on all their dreams about the other parent, because you got to be careful. There's that fine line. It's like your other parent's an asshole, but I've got to let you know what's real when it comes to parenting without telling you that the other parent's an asshole. And that's the thing. You want to keep it real. You want your kids to know what healthy parenting looks like. You want your kids to know what healthy relationships look like. You want your kids to know what healthy communication looks like. And the more you show them that, the more you encourage them to speak up and talk about things, and the more you encourage and put them in environments and places where they're around healthy relationships and healthy people, your kids will start to realize, whoa, why is mom or why is dad doing this? Why are they behaving this way? I don't get it. And that is their choice to make. That is their decision to make on their own in their time. But the more you hold on to that expectation of wanting something from your ex, wanting them to change, wanting them to step up, wanting them to be more involved, the more you're causing stress for yourself. The best thing you can do when they're not showing up the way that you want them to is just, as I always say, keep the focus on you. And I understand sometimes it's easier said than done. Yeah, Leanne, you just focus on you. It's so easy. And then it comes around where they're meant to come see the kids and all of a sudden they don't because they're busy or it's too hard, they don't want to travel or they're changing plans. Yeah, it's shit. But what they're doing, at the end of the day, you're not missing out on anything. You've still got your time with your kids. You're still there with them. And that's what your focus is. Oh, well, you miss out. And that's how it starts to be. That's how you eventually start to look at it. The more they do it, the longer it goes on, the more you realize, oh, well, it's them missing out, not me. You stop pushing because you know you're just fighting against yourself. And I can guarantee you, the more you're fighting it, the more you're pushing it, the more you're trying to get understanding and answers and reasoning and whatever else, they're not worried about it on their end. They're just living their life, carefree world, no worries about any emotions, any feelings, not worried about anything. They're just doing their thing. And yet here you are getting stressed because they're not doing this, getting stressed because they're not doing that, getting stressed over all these little things that they're not doing. And it's ruining your day. You're not sleeping properly. You're getting stressed. You're panicking. You're getting worked up. But again, their day is totally fine. They're out living their best life. But yet here you are. Your whole world has kind of gone to the shit. It's all, well, not so much gone to the shit, but you've got all this stress in your life and all this panic and worry because of your ex. Make it make sense. So you're here getting all worried over your ex because they're not showing up for the kids. They're not worried. So this is my reminder to you to stop worrying about this person who is not worrying about you and is not worrying about your kids. And I understand it's not right. No, it's not right. But worrying about it more and more and more and more and more is not going to change anything. Fighting it more and more and more, I promise you, is only going to make it harder. Because when you keep fighting it, when you keep wanting answers, when you keep pushing things, do you know what they're going to do? They're going to push back more. They're just going to fight it more. And then the more you do that, the more stressed you get, the more worked up you get, the more anxious you get, the more frustrated you get. You're not sleeping at night. You're crying. You're getting all anxious. You're getting all worked up. Trust me, I know. I know what it's like. It is not a fun place to be. And that's why it's really necessary to get to a place to just accept this is who they are. Accept that this is who they were in the relationship. You had expectations and you had hopes that maybe they would change and be a better person for your kids. Because you know they're not just all of a sudden being the same person and just coming up and being involved with the kids, because that's never who they were. So realistically, you're not expecting them to do what they've always done. You're expecting them to change and be a better person. That is not going to happen by someone who is just never done it before. And the thing is, they're not in a place mentally or emotionally where they know how to do it. Because for them, as I just touched on, it's admitting fault, and they're never going to admit fault because that means they're admitting that they've done something wrong. It means that they're admitting that they're a failure. It means they're admitting that there's something wrong with them. So they're not going to admit that. It's a process of just accepting who this person is. Their behavior, their outlook, their personality type, it's a shitty person. It is a shitty person. And for many of you, you sucked it up for a very, very long time in your relationship. You sucked it up, you did what you could, you rolled with the punches, you hoped for the best, you kept the peace, you did what you could. And now you've come out of the relationship, you're on the other side of it, you're now co-parenting with this person, hoping that they will be a better person for your kids. But they're not going to be, because they're not going to change for anybody, even their own kids. So this process now is about accepting this is their shitty behavior. I need to live my life for me. I need to live my life for my kids. And I can't sit around and wait for anything from this person any longer. I cannot sit around and have these expectations of this person who is always showing me they're never going to commit. They're never going to meet those expectations. They're never going to do anything that is required of them to be a decent parent. I mean, hey, I'm not saying they're not involved. They may be involved. They may pop up once in a while. More often than not, this person is usually the fun parent, because they pop into those brief, small moments just to have a bit of fun. And they're not the parents that want to talk about serious conversations, because they don't deal with emotions. So that's why they're always the fun parent, because they don't deal with rules. They don't deal with emotions. They don't deal with the serious stuff, because they themselves don't deal with it. So they're not going to deal with it with the kids. And that's what the kids love. The kids love that more, because they're not talking about those serious stuff. They're not talking about rules and things that are more serious. It's just the fun side of things they see with this parent. But I promise you, eventually it gets to a point where the kids want more. The kids don't just want a fun parent. They want a parent that's there for them. They want a parent that's going to hug them. They want a parent that's going to say, are you okay? Do you want to talk about it? What's happened? They want a parent that's emotionally involved in their life, that's going to ask them how they're going at school, that's going to know who their best friend's name is, that's going to know about their friends' parties on the weekend, that's going to know what sports they play and where they play at. Not just a parent that pops in and takes them out for takeaway and has a little bit of fun. The kids get sick of that after a while. And it is sad. You just want them to have that parent that's going to be there for them and give them what the kids need. But as I said, even though you know you want it and you're trying to fight it because that's what your kids need and that's what you want for your kids, but they're not going to give it. And it's a real hard pill to swallow. The only way your kids are going to get that is from you, or maybe eventually you meet a new partner who is emotionally intelligent and they're able to stand in as that step parent that can give them that love and attention that maybe they didn't get from their other parent. So this whole process of kind of waiting for something from your ex, hoping for something better, hoping they'll do something better, I understand and I respect and I am totally empathetic of what you're going through, because I know that you're fighting it because you're doing it for your kids. You're fighting it because you want this person involved in the kids' lives. But you can fight it, you can fight it, you can fight it. This person is not going to change. The only way this person will be more involved is if they can step up and say, yeah, I fucked up. I need help, or I need to do something. And they start getting therapy. They start getting coaching. They start getting counseling. They start doing something to better their lives. But they're not going to change just by saying, yeah, sure, I'll do better. And then that's it. They're empty words. This person is not going to change. And in the kindest way possible, it's not just going to happen because their ex is asking for it. They're not just going to go, oh, my ex is asking for this. I should do this for my kids. I mean, realistically, like I said, we all know it's for your kids. The kids come first. It should be about your kids. But in their eyes, they think, yeah, they're doing their ex a favor. So no, they're not going to do it. And the more you push it, the more they're going to push back, because it's like, I am not helping my ex. I'm not doing anything for my ex, even when they know it's for the kids, even when they think it's for the kids' needs. Because in their stupid eyes, they think that even though you're pushing for something for the kids, they think, oh, well, it's only because you're asking for it. It's only because you're fighting for it. The kids don't want that. The kids don't care, because that's how they see it, because that's how they are as humans. They don't need that emotional attention. They don't need to have all this extra care and everything else like you're wanting from them. So in their eyes, they think, well, the kids don't need it. It's just you wanting it. Why are you making a big deal? That's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. They're like, why can't they just do it? Why can't they just be more involved? One, they don't know how to. And two, they just think it's you wanting it for the kids. This is not what they've grown up to see. This is not what they've grown up around. This is not what they are familiar with. This is not the environment that they're used to being in. They don't know how to show up in that way. They just think it's you demanding something unrealistic of them that they cannot provide. This is not what they're going to give you, or it's not what they're going to give the kids. It's now a process of accepting this is who this person is, and just accept they're a dickhead of a person, male, female, whoever they are, and I had kids with this person. I had the worst thing from this person, but on the flip side of that, I've got the best thing from this person, which is your kids. That's the only way you can look at it going forward. Accept that they're a dickhead, but accept that you've got the best thing ever from them in the process. Okay? So it is really tough accepting this process, that knowing that this person is not going to change. They don't know any different. They don't know how to change. They don't know how to show up differently. And they're not willing to get help. They're not willing to get therapy. They're not willing to do anything to improve who they are as a person. It is a matter of accepting. And if you do need help with accepting this, if you do need help with communicating with this person, if you do need help with co-parenting with this person, then this is where I come in. And this is exactly something I can help you with. And there are so many options here to help you with this, with my one-on-one coaching, with my weekly check-in membership, which is a game changer. I have so much positive feedback from this, because it's where I just check in. You can talk about anything specific. I will make sure that you do not feel lonely. I will make sure you do not feel lost or alone or exhausted. This is me personally, not an automated bot. You will hear from me. And you know it's me, because I usually have spelling mistakes. I'm a little bit dyslexic, so I have words missed out and do some stupid stuff in my spelling sometimes. So you'll know it's me. And I will be checking in on you to make sure, most importantly, that are you doing okay? Are you okay? And that's the importance of this membership, to make sure you're okay and to give you that support to help you stay on track so you don't get pushed off when you're dealing with your co-parent and through these shitty moments. So that's the idea of that weekly membership. The one-on-one coaching, we go deeper, we deal with all these emotions so you know how to co-parent better without getting caught up in all these stressful moments with your ex, getting out of these toxic dating cycles. All this stuff is all here to help you. So check all that out. That's all in the show notes. And most importantly, if you are listening in real time, it is Mother's Day this weekend. So first and foremost, if you are a mum and you do not have your kids this weekend, make the most of that, because if you haven't seen it, I've written a blog on this topic, so please go and check it out. It's on my website. But if you don't have your kids, then find the good in this. You might be thinking, fuck, I just wish I had my kids. That's not fair. It's Mother's Day. I just want to have my kids. Yeah, well, you know what? It's not fair. If your ex is being a dick and not letting you have your kids on Mother's Day, then yes, they are a dick. But use that time to your advantage, because I can promise you now, there's a lot of mums out there that will be looking at your situation thinking, shit, I wish I was kid-free on Mother's Day. I wish I didn't have to deal with my husband or my family or anything like that on Mother's Day. And maybe vice versa with dads on Father's Day. Sorry, I got a bit confused then. So make the most of that time. Because even though you're looking at your situation, you may not be happy. I promise you now, you don't realize it. But I bet you there's people out there looking at your situation, wishing they had what you had, wishing they had a quiet Mother's Day and they didn't have to cook, wishing they had a quiet Mother's Day and they could just sleep in, wishing they had a quiet Mother's Day and they could just take themselves out for a massage or a manicure. So please don't focus on the negatives of your day. Make it what it is. Enjoy the day with your kids. If you're spending it with your family, with your mums, however you're celebrating, I should say, make the most of it and really have a beautiful day. And dads, if you're listening, please do the right thing when it comes to your mums. And I'm pretty sure that all of you dads that are listening are those kind of dads that do the right thing when it comes to Mother's Day and vice versa with Father's Day. Because this is not about being bitter about your breakup on these days. It's about letting the kids be involved and being there for them. And also, if you don't get a gift, this is another thing quickly. If you don't get a gift this Mother's Day, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Go out and take yourself shopping. Buy yourself something that you want. Because again, on the flip side of that, I bet you there's a lot of mums out there that are getting gifts and they're looking thinking, what the fuck is this? They're gifts that they don't even want. So you've got the choice of being in a relationship where you possibly get a shitty gift that you don't want. I mean, mind you, not everyone does. You could get a nice gift. But on the flip side, you could be somewhere where with your kids, just you don't get a gift. But hey, you can take your kids shopping and they can choose a gift for you that you want. Or even better, you choose the gift yourself. So just try and focus on making it what you want. So please have a beautiful day this Sunday if you are listening in real time. And if you're not, then for any other Mother's Day in the future or any other day, have a beautiful day. And until next week, I'll be in your ears then. Thank you for joining us on the Life After Plus One podcast. If you loved what you heard today and looking for some further support, then jump onto our website, lifeafterplusone.com. Plus, don't forget to check out our Instagram page for further resources and inspo. You can find all the links in the show notes. And remember, you're not alone on this path. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep exploring your amazing life after plus one.